Hey, what is going on, guys, and welcome to the video. Now, the absolute disaster of a vehicle I've got for you today is a 2005 Cadillac Escalade that is without question one of the grossest vehicles I've ever laid eyes on. Okay, well, I feel like this video should have a viewer discretion is advised disclaimer on it because what you're going to see inside the Escalade is truly shocking. But to be honest, so is the exterior. After sitting abandoned for nearly 2 years on a gold mine, the paint is covered in a thick layer of dirt that's no doubt very embedded, and I can already tell that it's going to take some serious work to get it looking good, but that absolutely pales in comparison to the monumental disaster I found on the inside. The moment I opened the door, my jaw hit the floor and I had to ask myself, how does this even happen? The carpets are literally stained black in some spots, there's chunks of goo stuck to them in others, and then there's a colossal amount of old moldy french fries, chicken nuggets, and other food in the back. But if that's not enough, some of the trim and cup holders are so nasty looking, I don't even want to know what I'm looking at. But just before you guys watch what might be the most miraculous transformation you've ever seen, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I post a new video like this every week, and if you've got the bell on, you'll never miss out on one. Okay guys, well, there's really not much to say here except that I've got a monumental amount of work ahead of me to get this Escalade looking good again. So as always, sit back, relax, and enjoy the transformation. Okay guys, well, no question, this is going to be one of the biggest details I've ever taken on. And as always, it's starting with the pre-wash rinse, and even though the paint might be looking okay now, when you guys see what I pulled off of it later, you won't believe it. And speaking of later in the video, the new owner of this Escalade was absolutely blown away by how good I got it looking, so be sure to stick around until the end of the video to catch that. Okay, working my way around with the pressure washer, and like I mentioned earlier, this Escalade was used on a gold mine, which in and of itself is crazy because this is definitely the exact opposite of what you'd expect to find being used as a work vehicle. But then you add in the fact that it was also used as a kid hauler because, let's face it, there's only one explanation for the mess in the back, and it's even more wild. It's like the tale of two vehicles, a work vehicle that was also abused by kids. But what makes this story even crazier is the vehicle had been abandoned on the mine, so it sat outside for a couple of years and was only recovered recently, where it was sold at an auction to the new owner. starting on these wheels now, and you might have noticed that the Escalade is rocking wheels from a Chevy, which is a little odd, but I'll still tackle them the same way, and that's with some wheel and tire cleaner and a variety of brushes to agitate loose all the dirt and brake dust stuck to them, and then a quick blast with the pressure washer and they're looking good again. Hey guys, just wanted to jump in here real quick and bring to your attention an issue that is very near and dear to Mike's heart, and that is men's hair loss. Now, a few months back, I noticed Mike was starting to lose a little bit of hair off the top of his head, so being the good brother that I am, I recommended he give Keeps a try. Now, if you haven't heard of Keeps before, they offer clinically proven and doctor-recommended treatments that will stop men's hair loss and improve hair growth, and best of all, it's delivered straight to your door so you never have to go see a doctor or a pharmacist, which is perfect for a guy like Mike because he hates going to the doctor. Now, whether you're looking to prevent hair loss, stimulate hair growth, or just take better care of the hair that you do have, Keeps has you covered. With their network of expert medical advisors, prescribers, and care specialists, they can support you in making your hair goals a reality. Just look at a few of these before and after pictures. It is truly remarkable what it can do. Keeps physicians will work with you to pick the right products and treatments for your specific condition or hair goals, and Keeps makes it super easy because with their subscription service, you'll get refill reminders so you'll never run low on the products you need to keep your hair looking its best. And with 2 out of 3 guys experiencing hair loss by the time they're 35, this really is a no-brainer. You don't have to watch your hair disappear because hair loss stops with Keeps. To get 50% off your first order, go to keeps.com/detailgeek or click the link in the description. That's keeps.com/detailgeek. Okay, let's get back to work on the Escalade now. Okay guys, well it's the moment that I'm sure you've been waiting for and the one I've been dreading a bit, and that is to get to work on this interior. And as I've said before, whenever I'm faced with an interior that looks like this, where I know I'm likely to spend about 12 hours on, the best way to tackle this and maintain motivation throughout is with a step-by-step plan that starts with removing some of the garbage and junk out of the back so I can get the third row seats out, and then I'll quickly unbolt the rest of the seats and get them removed as well. And with all 6 of the seats removed, we can take a look at the absolute carnage that I'm facing here. And I'm right there with you guys. I really don't understand how this happens. And to be honest, I probably don't want to know. So with my dustpan in hand, I'll get to work gathering up all the larger pieces of old food and garbage. Now, I've pulled some pretty nasty things out of vehicles before, but this center console insert here is downright unsettling. Not only is there a used tampon, everything else in it was coated in some sort of brown sticky goo, so the steamer should have fun with that later. Moving back to the second row, and if you've seen the videos I did on the black Escalade from a few years back, you'd likely guess that this one has really nice and plush carpet, and while you'd be right, it's definitely not looking so good right now, as the carpet in here is pretty well trashed, so a lot of the fibers are stuck together and matted down, but knowing that it does have a longer pile, I'm pretty confident I'll be able to get it looking presentable again, but I have my doubts on it looking brand new, as when you abuse something as bad as this, you just can't expect to get it looking perfect again. Working my way around with the vacuum, and it's time for this week's members question, which comes from Ashley, and it's: when the studio is done, are you going to expand your business and hire another detailer? Mike is great and all, but he doesn't seem too dependable. So you're definitely right about Mike. He's pretty unreliable and rarely ever comes out to help me with a vehicle anymore. But as for the new studio, no, I won't be hiring anyone. While it's a nice idea to have extra help, there really aren't any areas where I'd need help with detailing or filming, so I will continue as a one-man operation. But as for the studio, this is as good of a time as any to remind you guys that episode 7 of the Studio Build series was released a few weeks ago, so be sure to head over to the Detail Geek 2 to check it out, as the floor got coated and it turned out incredible. Okay guys, well, moving on to the main event now, which is these absolutely trashed carpets. and I already know that I'm going to need my green drill brush and a lot of carpet solution to loosen up the years of dirt, grime, and whatever else is trapped in these carpets. And even after making the first few passes, it's clear that while it's pulling up all kinds of crud, there's still going to be work to do. So I know that I'll need to repeat the entire process at least 2 times, sometimes even 3 or 4 times to be satisfied I've got them as clean as I can. And for any areas that still have stains after extracting, I'll follow up with the steamer a little bit later on. Moving to the very back of the Escalade now, where it looked like there might have been oil spilled on the carpet, I'm going ahead and letting the solution sit a little bit longer so that it can hopefully saturate the carpet a bit deeper and loosen up those stains. And if you're wondering what carpet solution I'm using here that's able to basically work magic on these carpets, well, it's my own Detail Geek carpet solution that I've been testing over the past few months, and I'm happy to report that I've gotten it formulated to a point where it's better than the Chemical Guy stuff I used previously. So be on the lookout for that over at detailgeekautocare.com this summer. Now, as I repeat the process on this section of carpet for a second and eventual 4th time, I'm as disappointed as you guys probably are when I can't get things looking perfect. But despite there being a few areas in the carpets that lingered even after the steamer, I'll know that I gave it everything I had, and even though I always aim for perfection in my details, I do know from experience that when you work on trashed vehicles, there are going to be times when things are just too damaged to get them looking new again. Okay, well, moving to one of the nastiest areas in this carpet, and I figured I'd run through my extracting process for you. So obviously I start with spraying on carpet solution, and once the solution has been agitated, I'll start making passes, spraying water while I do, which brings me to what's in the extractor tank, which is just hot water. I never put solution in the tank as I'd continually be adding more solution to the carpets as I worked, which makes no sense to me. But anyways, one thing you'll always see me do is extract from at least 2 different directions, as the carpet pile typically lays in one direction, like back to front. So going over it from different directions will ensure I can get all the dirt and solution back out, so the carpet is as clean as possible when I'm done. Here's the nearly 2 buckets full of concentrated and absolutely disgusting filth pulled from the Escalade today, and I'll tell you now that the camera isn't doing this justice because it was dark brown. Gross. Here's a quick look at where I started a few short hours ago, and boom, the carpets look 100 times better already. Alright, well, starting on all the interior panels now, and the only way to tackle these is with some Detail Geek all-purpose cleaner diluted at heavy strength, which is 4:1, and my McCulloch steamer with the brush attachment on, and you guys can see how quickly the steamer is able to obliterate the nasty grime here, and then it's just as simple as wiping it clean with a microfiber towel. So if any of you guys out there have ever thought to yourselves, man, I really need one of those, well, you'd be right. Not only do they work great for detailing, but I actually just used mine the other day to deep clean my tile shower, and it worked just as good, so you really should give the steamer a look. The link is down in the description for you, and it will undoubtedly make all your household cleaning far easier. Okay, with all the interior panels clean now, I'll turn my attention to everything I removed from the vehicle earlier, which is still a mess, and the cleaning process will be the exact same here, but the benefit to having these things removed from the vehicle is that I can simply just leave the mess on my garage floor and wash it down the drain when I'm done. But I do have to say I've worked on all different kinds of vehicles before with varying qualities of materials used in them, and Cadillacs definitely use higher quality plastics, so I already know that even though these sill plates and storage bin inserts were in horrible shape, they're going to clean up and look perfect when I'm done. Okay, well now that I've got the trim pieces all clean, the last thing I need to do is get all the leather clean, and you might not be able to tell, but every inch of these seats were absolutely filthy, so using the steamer was very necessary in order to get the years of grime loosened up, and you'll really see the difference in the before and afters. The seats are not supposed to be a light shade of brown, but rather a nice creamy white color. Here's a nice close-up shot for you guys to show you just how filthy the leather actually was. It doesn't take long, and there's brown goop just falling off the side of the seat here. Crazy. Alright, well here's something I'm not able to show you guys very often, but a few of the seat belts in this Escalade were absolutely disgusting. So I'm first spraying on some 4:1 APC, and then I'll hit it with the steamer to agitate in the really tight weave of the seat belt. And like anything else, I'll repeat the process as many times as is necessary until I've gotten them as clean as I can. Pretty gross what came out of these. Now with the seats back in the vehicle, I'll nourish and protect the leather with some of my secret DG leather cleaner, which not only works incredibly well, but it smells amazing too. Alright, well turning my attention to the paint now, and before I can even think about applying a sealant to it, I need to decontaminate every inch of it because there's undoubtedly a ton of crud all over it even after washing it earlier. So with some of my Detail Geek Quick Detailer to act as lubricant, I'm using detailing clay on the paint, which easily picks up and removes any surface bonded contaminants like tar, tree sap, and other road fallout, and it's pretty shocking to see what the clay pulled off this paint. Okay, to get all this filthy and grimy glass cleaned, I'm using some of my Detail Geek glass cleaner and a waffle weave towel, and it's easily able to cut through the crud on the glass, and the cleaner is also ammonia free, so it's safe for tinted windows, and after flipping the towel for the final wipe, the glass is perfectly clean and streak free. Be sure to check it out over at detailgeekautocare.com, where you can find the glass cleaner and waffle weave towels bundled together for additional savings. Hey, how's it going?
Looks crazy.
Yeah, it is looking good now, hey?
Painter came back.
Oh. It's looking good, eh?
It's nice.
A little better than it did.
Carpets look brand new.
Yeah, not too bad.
Wow.
Yeah, it doesn't even look like the same car anymore, eh?
Oh, looks awesome.
Pretty
Good
big
job. You did awesome, man.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that.
Oh, it looks unbelievable.
Yeah, it's looking good. Pretty happy with how it turned out.
Did you know the carpet was tan?
Yeah, that thing was abused for fairly a lot of years, so.
Sweet.
Wow. Thanks, Mitch. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Love it. Well,
Yeah.
thank you very much.
Later, huh? You get out and
Thank you.
enjoy it.
Yeah,
Thanks, man.
thank you.
All right, guys, well, a staggering 18 hours later, and the Escalade is looking incredibly good, and honestly, about as good as it possibly can, given the years of abuse that it took. Now, if you guys enjoyed this transformation, make sure you hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss out on future videos. Enjoy the guitar outro, and I'll see you guys in the next one.